try to guard somebody, she'd charge them, hit them, block, so a referee would foul her out. First time she's ever fouled out. Personal foul. They had to play with 5 people. They lost that game in the Eastern Regionals for the state. Going on to the state by 3 points.
And Mr. Lewis Smith that ran the store in Smyrna, of course everybody east, I'm sure, was listening on the radio. They didn't go up there. Most of them went. But when he heard that we had lost, he had a heart attack and they had to take him to the hospital.
Hey, wait a minute. But they never lost a regular conference game in 16 years. Now let me tell you something.
That's how people east were into our games.
Now, you told me that people like Dolly Davis mentored you, and a lot of the girls on that team. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. She had the spirit.
Now, to me, when I look at your pictures and stuff that I've got up here, you look like me, you'd be about 6'5", 6'6". What made you guys so powerful?
I was 5'5", 5'5", weighed 118 pounds.
But you guys had such a strong defense. They couldn't score 18-1, 18-2.
We had good guards.
Esther Brown was mean, wasn't she? She was redheaded. She grabbed me by the hair and, hey, let me have the ball, we're going this way. Miss Esther. Hey, wait a minute. I'm telling you, they played like kittens. And they just devastated them. But why did you do that? Didn't you think they were going to hate us?
No, we didn't think anything but play ball.
Play ball. That's a Jimmy Chan.
And they said play ball, you said let's play ball. You didn't mean they play with the ball. Oh, okay, you just thought it was one way. I got it.
We went to win.
Hey, now we're finding the whole root of the Willie's
We
problem.
stayed at the principal's house, Mr. Eagles, in Green. And he had this huge home out in the country. And we had the whole upstairs. We girls. And when we would get home at night, we'd stay up and laugh and roll everybody's hair and carry on to about 1 o'clock, The next morning we'd go down and his mother had this huge dining room, great big table. And it was full of country ham and scrambled eggs and orange juice. We found like queens.
So did you let me get this straight. Your guys about 5'5". You had tremendous guards. You never let them have the ball.
No,
Did they get mad?
they probably did. But they were scared.
But you didn't care, did you?
No.
You go out and play ball. Coach said play ball. You took the ball and ran with it. Did they ever cross what I'm interested in, if they only scored 1 point, did they ever cross the center line?
No, one time he didn't do that. He played on each side.
I understand that the girls, sometimes they were trying to beat you, like when you go to Moorhead, that big red machine over there. They were, I understand they try to hurt somebody over there. Moorhead's Beaufort.
Yeah.
Who was your toughest competitor? Was it Newport?
They were always our enemy because we always beat them.
They didn't like us either when we grew up. No. That's probably because you guys have been beaten so bad. They're telling old stories of mother passing it down along the line. I can't tell you how satisfied. I hope you enjoy the day. And I'm going to tell you, we are so thankful to have you and for the impact that women like you have had on us. And do you have anything else you want to tell these youngsters here?
Play ball.
She lived to be 91. Miss Melba says she's a youngster. Miss Melba's a little older than that. Okay, now you've heard it from the horse's mouth, something I didn't make up. Now let me show you the next thing that some of you probably didn't know. I didn't know this. Smyrna had a great track team. They had all kinds of teams. They had teams for everything you could imagine. Tennis. They had track, women. I think it was like 9 women and 6 men on the track team here in 1935. They had singing contests from each school. Harkezon always won that. They beat them in singing every year. As a matter of fact, Melvin told me they get mad because they lost, but you know, the singing contest over there at Smyrna. But now in 1939, and by the way, this is so sad. We don't have the names of these pictures on the 1939 annual. And if we had the annual, we got the annual, but these 5 pictures, I think this annual came from Viva Piner, who played in 1939, but we don't have the names. I wish we did, who they were. If anybody knows that and get them to me, I appreciate it. Do what? She died about a couple of years ago, I think. Do what? We do? Will you let me know at the end? Who?
Ruby Gordon Willis.
Ruby Gordon Willis. Okay. Would you remind me at the end so I can write that down? I appreciate that. But did these girls get any easier to beat? Let's see. 1939. Season record, 12-0. Played 10 regular season games, 2 other games. They won them all. They averaged 43.2 points versus their competitor averaging 9 points. 7 of the 10 games scored less than 10 points. They were devastated. Very good. So Charles, or Coach Townsend, actually coached that particular team. We do not know about the 40s, but if you know anything from 40 to 40 through 46, it would be very helpful. I wanted to, at this time, also indicate that the women teams did not stop losing. They didn't necessarily keep winning every year, but they were runners-up 5 times from 47. For 17 years, they were runner-up 5 times. They were winners championships of 5 teams, 5 years. They were several teams that we can't determine from the documentation whether they were champions or runners-up or what, but they had such good records they could have been champions. So they had a tremendous run for all these years. One of the teams that came from last to first was 1958. Teams like Jean Willis, Brenda Baker, Brenda Willis, Claudia Evans, Sally Hooper, Carolyn Phelps, Clarice Willis, and Betsy Taylor, Carolyn Willis. How many is in here today? Whoa, got the whole team. That's good. That's got the whole team. Let me tell you, these are some basketball players. These are some powerful basketball players.
In 59,
Yes.
2 of those that you mentioned, Brenda and Carol Willis, they were both Willises, they're both dead. They and myself were the guards in 59, and 2 of them are already dead.
These were powerful. This was a very, very strong women's team. The women's team in 59, 60 were runners-up, and then the 62 team won the championship. So they were runner-up the next 2 years, then they won the championship. Powerful teams. And then in the 60s, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but in the 60s, the women team, the documentation, I don't have it all, it's not really delineated. Sometimes the coach didn't pass what the records were and things like that, so it's not very clear in the paper, but I've got all the details up until it, just don't give the records at the end. So, but let me tell you, these were some powerful teams. At this time, I think I would like to have the women's basketball players. So Smyrna from 23 to 65. Anybody here, I'd like to see if we can get them right here. I'd like to take a photo of that. And that way we'll get them all right here. 52 22, she said we left them out. I didn't leave them out. I've got the pictures. I just forgot to show them. We got all the women basketball players. Okay, we want you right up front, and if you want to sit down, we can put a chair right here for you. Do you say? Hey, say, good to meet you, buddy. Okay, we want the 33 and 34, 35, two people right here. And also, Elizabeth, would you get the names in the order of each one of these? Ask them if you have to, but I want the names so I can get a picture we match up. The North Carolina Senate. Be it known that the Senate of the North Carolina General Assembly prepares this certificate to the Smyrna women basketball teams for their impact on Smyrna spirit and competitive sports. Corsign Waterfowl Museum, Barker's on the 26th day of 2009, signed by all the dignitaries. We want to thank you from Smyrna for helping set the bars for us and help guide us throughout the years.
Don't sit down too quick.
Yeah, don't sit down. We want to get your names. So if they publish this picture, we'll have the names for it. So, Elizabeth, are you going to now... Elizabeth, you getting the names?
Joe?
Let's get it
Joe,
done.
have them tell us their names. So we
Yeah.
have it on video.
How about tell me your names clearly? I mean, go right down the list so we can get it on video.
Diana Taylor.
Diana Taylor. How about using this? So they'll get it.
Diana Taylor Town.
Patsy Taylor.
Carolyn Phelps Willis.
Mona Faye Arthur Davis. Nancy Willis Lewis.
Effie Gaskell Gilligan.
Carita Guthrie Lewis. Ruth Wade Gilligan.
Rose Guthrie Griffin.
Melva Lynch King. Trudy Gilligan Parker.
Bertha Chadwick Davis.
Joanne Valentine Brooks.
Gay Styron. Alice Chadwick Lewis.
Eleanor Gilligan. Clarice Willis Willis.
I'm going to present this to these two young ladies, Bertha Chadwick and Melva Lynch King, this award in tribute. And what I'm going to do is we're going to keep this at the museum and so forth on behalf of all women. So anybody comes in here and looks at sports, they'll see this and what women have done, and they can read about you all through this time. But this is how it looks. I'll be glad to give you a copy of it. But I think that is a tribute to the early days. You were pioneers. Thank you. You're doing it right now. That's right. That's right. Let me ask you something. What year? I bet Tommy Starn don't even know what year this came from.
1963.
1963. Anybody else? $50 if you can guess it.
64.
Linwood said he'd pay $50 if you can guess it. 92? Oh, 32. No, you probably know. Huh? 52. Okay, this is brought Smyrna. Now, he may be lying, I don't know. That's what he brought it
Brian, why would you?
1932.
Dana Salter. Dana Salter. In the old his mind, he was.
Dana Salter. Yeah, it was Miss Dana Salter, who played on the 1933 team. I wanted to thank you for this. I'd like to shift a little bit, and I'd like to take a 5-minute break if you want to now, or do you want to? Let's take a 5-minute break and come right back, if you will, because we got. So come on, sit down and look at it. I want to read everybody the news one time. One time.
Let me tell you something. When got to do it?
Holy smokes! Man, we got breaking news special. 1962. Mary Golden, homecoming queen. God, there were about 14 runner-up. Vernon Hill, Gail Suter, Cheryl Hamilton, Becky Brown, and there were 14 competing. Girls beat Atlanta that week. God, she's going to marry Carol Wayne Hill, opening too late. Man, that was a mistake, wasn't it? Mary is going to try to make it today, but I don't know if she was able to, but I hope she's out there. Now, the next person that we knew about was Miss Carolyn Salter. Favorite song, Crying, by Connie Francis. The one that I got interested in was her most memorable event was the state fair trip. I'd like to hear more about that one, wouldn't you? Bet you had a boyfriend. Now, this was absolutely a news flash to me when I first saw it over the wires. Gary Smith was interested in girls, 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 and driving. So I wanted to share that with you because I saw that in one of the papers. Now it's time to go back and show you how we remember Mr. Bartholomew, Coach Bartholomew. He married the best girl he could ever find that put up with him. And he married a calendar girl from Morehead City. She was about 19 years old, didn't know a whole lot. And he came along with a big ring. If we had time, I'd get into more details about this. This is very interesting, by the way. If you got a minute afterwards, I'll tell you the details. It's not pretty. This is Fred dancing and so forth at one of the events. 2 of them, actually. This is Emma Bartholomew. Did many of you see Emma? She played basketball with us in 1960, in the 62, 63, 64 era. Is Emma still here? Oh, Emma's eating. This is where I got to know Fred. He had a group of boys, probably the best boys he ever had, for the first team. Doug Damon, Danny Gillick, Sterling Hancock, Cranston Jones, Kenny Lewis, Terry Lewis, Norris Nelson, Barry Willis, Gordon Willis, Joe Boy Willis, Steve Willis. We went 13-1. I think it was the end of the season before we lost a game. Might have been the last game we lost. But it wasn't really so much about winning and losing then when you're youngins. You know, I used to go out and play or catch clams every day. I said just a little bit of background. We used to go out, leave in the morning about 6 o'clock. We'd get off at Whites's Island about 6:30, jump overboard in the skiff. We'd load the skiff up with clams every day with Bonner, my Uncle Bonner. Then we'd bring it into Elton Willis's fish house, sell them. We'd come change clothes, go over to Doug Dameron's house, who Danny Dameron would take us to Beaufort to play ball. Well, this particular time, we had such a strong team that all the other teams in the league got an all-star team together at the end of the year and played Smyrna. And this is the results of that game. And be frank with you, this is the lesson that we first learned from Fred. And this lesson was this. Sterling had not to let Sterling pitch. No, that wasn't. But actually Sterling won the game that day. He came in relief of of Barry, I believe, and Kenny Lewis. But the Blue Devils were losing 14-6, going into the 7th inning. The umpire and the competing coach came out and called Coach Bartholomew to the batter's box where I was catching and told him that he was going to call the game because we were getting beat so bad so they could use the rule to terminate the game. And he asked Fred, would that be okay? He turned to me and said, what do you think? And I said, well, we ain't got nothing else to do. We've been clamming all day. What's one more inning? so we went on and hit that. We sent 12 men to the plate. We scored 8 runs on 2 hits, 5 stolen bases, 7 walks, 1 error. We were down to the wire with 2 outs. Somehow I got on first base, stole second, stole third. They called me out. That would have ended the game. The third baseman never got within 2 feet of me. The umpire from home plate then was calling that, so he couldn't see that. So I convinced, after a few words about his mother and stuff, the third baseman was convinced that he would confess to the umpire that he never got close to me. The umpire left me on third, and I think we suicide me in home to tie the game. We went on to win that game 18-15. Now some of that women got into us, and we didn't want to quit. It isn't over till it's over. So just have patience. But we manufactured runs. We didn't get all that many hits. We manufactured runs. They sent 6 pitchers against us. Lee, Richard Stanley, Jimmy Aycock, Downhill Yeager, Walter Stevens, and Julius Taylor, all over the county. And we won in that last inning, that last at bat. That was the first lesson we learned from Fred. The second, Fred knew me then. He put me as a plant in the 10th grade home run to keep people like Trudy Gilligan and Berna Sue and them from cutting up. They had bad conduct back there, didn't they? And then Martin Rhodes, Barry and them. They were bad. I had to keep them quiet. So they put me back there to try to keep them quiet. Because I was a good son. Me and Barbara Willis. But in Eleanor, you could look at Eleanor and see she might not have that good of conduct. Mischievous. Now they had Cranston Jones, church-going guy. Him and Curtis Lewis up front. Choir boy, Becky Lawrence and Joanne Mazarella. Man, what a home run. That's a pretty class, isn't it? Isn't that a pretty class? You can say yeah. I'm not leaving it till you say yeah. But actually, 1963, I was going through some of the annuals that I have too. And I saw where the Whispering Pines was dedicated by the 63 class. And I think they pretty much got it right. I was thinking some words, but they pretty much got it right. They said, during our high school years, we were searching for knowledge, ideals, and purpose. When we find a teacher who can instill in us not only knowledge, but also, more importantly, principles, he naturally gains a very special place in our hearts. He came to teach us, but ended up, our friend and our mentor. And actually, I think if you had to sum up what he taught us, it's just like the English history book or English tool books that we had. Baseball, basketball, gym, diamond, they were tools to teach us things that would help us throughout our life, if you really look back. We weren't smart enough to see that then. But today, you can actually categorize them pretty easily. Coach Bartholomew helped us to be better individuals with some of these techniques. We didn't think so at the time, though, I'm going to tell you that. We also think that it helped us perhaps in life to be not only better individuals, but maybe better leaders. He taught us to listen, and like AC said, mostly to him. But the fact is, he taught us to listen at people that might know something that will help you along the way in your job, doing the work, and so forth. He taught us to care about people, not telling us to care about people. He taught us because he cared about us, not whether we were a guard, forward, or center, but he talked to us about what we were going to do, were we going on to school, what job we were going to do. He cared about us. He talked about recognizing individuals that help you along the way. He talked about if you got a hit in a baseball game, then you might recognize the pitcher that threw you the batting practice. If you got an assist in the basketball court and you got a pass and scored 2 points, you might wink at that guy or pat him on the back, because that's part of the teamwork that you had to learn. He taught us to have a game plan, making sure that we were ready to go into battle. He taught us to be industrious, hard work, and let me make it perfectly clear just in case you got any doubt. He was not weak in this area. He worked us to death. He taught us to be enthusiastic, enjoy what you're doing, and it'll show. Other people will follow. He was an example of that. He enjoyed what he was doing. I don't think he knew what he was doing, but he enjoyed it. He also taught us to be patient. He had 3 years with us. We absolutely knew nothing. Braxton Piner probably described it best. They used to come in and play inter-squad games with us, the old teams, their teams that graduated prior for us getting there. They used to beat us to death first year. The last year, he didn't want to come over and play us, because we were better. It may not have been quite as good, but we were a lot better. And we had grown over a 3-year period. Because you got to remember, when we came in high school, saw basketball and started figuring out how to dribble. We didn't play basketball from the 5th grade on. So we didn't have any experience. We had to learn that experience. He taught us to have confidence in ourselves. If you do not have confidence, let me make it perfectly clear that nobody will have confidence in you. And that's what that man showed us. He had confidence in himself. I don't believe he knew where he was going, but he had confidence he was going to go somewhere. Now, at the same time, I don't think he taught us how not to be afraid of trying, not to be afraid of failure. If you don't try, how do you know you can't do it? And if you can't do it, you have still built on where you were, so you are better off for it. And he taught us that. He also taught us to respect other people. And one way that you do this as a business leader or as a student is you be honest with people. You talk to people like you want to be talked to. And that's the way he talked to us. He called us dumb, ignorant, and worthless. No, that's not true. He told us we were going to get there. We just got to be patient, and we would get there. And we did get there. We got there. Matter of fact, one of the guys that was coming in, yeah, Jimmy, it's a joke. Man, I'm right in the middle. I got the prettiest women here ever been. Hold on a minute. You're in Savannah. You're supposed to be here, Jimmy. Oh, you can't be here? Oh, you got a hole in your roof in Savannah. You have to travel down there. Well, oh no, my wife's doing fine. It was a lot of rain down there. I tethered her to the roof, and I hooked the dogs to her and gave her a paddle in case the water got high. So I'll be back in about 6 days. Oh yeah, no, she's doing. I hope your roof gets good. Jimmy, I don't like you saying anything about this. I saw that you were going to speak about tired and worthless. Were you talking about you or Fred? Fred? No, Jimmy. Fastball. No, he didn't have. He didn't have a fastball. Fred, he said you threw slow and slower as a pitcher. Jimmy, we don't like that. I know you're from Moorhead. We don't even like Moorhead down here. Jimmy, we might not even let you in. You got it. Well, Jimmy, I hope you get your roof fixed. I'm going to change this number, by the way, when I get home. So I'll let you know my new number. Okay, bye. Fred, he said your fastball was slow and slower. Said you threw him one time and he went over the gym there in Moorhead or something. AC, now Fred was a little bit hard at it growing when he first come. He knew it everything, didn't he, AC? Where's AC at? AC, how about coming up here? Oh, you got to come here and get this. You got to come here and tell the story, or I'm gonna tell it. Okay, you tell me your way anyway. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what AC told me. Now I might exaggerate a hair, but it won't be much. It'll be all factual. Fred came in, fresh from East Carolina, big star up there, baseball star. Came down here to play with the East Coast League. First game. No, who were you playing? Newport? Newport. Big competitors. Fred, pitching the game, had a no-hitter going in. What inning? Third or fourth inning. No-hitter, doing real good. AC, the catcher, AC Davis. Calling everything just right. Start shaking AC off on a pitch. AC's, like this, and, and Fred knew what to throw. Threw a pitch. Where did it go? Over the fence. Over the fence. Shorty's no-hitter. What did he tell you afterwards? I'll never call you off again.
He should have 2 pitches off the whole game and asked 2 base hits.
So Fred, we had to train him. We had to train him. East Carolina didn't help him that much.
And the game before that, Jimmy Parsons hit, and they were lost 2.
Well, Fred came down here. That was the introduction. Jimmy Parker couldn't make it today. We found out what his title was. I had an anonymous caller call him today, tell him his roof in Savannah, Georgia, his home that he owned down there, had a hole in it and it was raining down there. So he had to go down there. He's still on his way down there. God, I hate that. But anyway, there is a feud going on between Jimmy Parker and Coach Bartholomew. In 1961, Fred said he won the batting championship. The documentation I have is incomplete. Towards the end of the year, wasn't quite finished. One document says Fred won. One document that I'm showing here basically says that Jimmy Parker was one, which he was the coach in Moorhead City and first coach at West Carteret. Fred says he's got the trophy. He says Dee got mad with him, burned the trophy one day, or threw it out. Dee said Fred is crazy, so I don't know what. She might have a point. I don't know. But anyway, there's a feud I've been trying to put out at all these baseball reunions, and I haven't been able to do it. They're like 2 bulls in a china shop, but you can't reason with either one, boys. Now the next guy who's going to speak here is a friend of mine. We used to call him the pretty boy from the Western, because we lived at the Eastern and he lived at the Western. So he was on part of the 1964 championship team that we had at Smyrna, and also today is a renowned decor carver and all-around philosopher.
I guess that goes without saying who it is.
Obviously.
And it gets worse. I don't know if Joe Boy got around to this, but I tell you what, if Wynn's got anything to do with it, he can still play baseball. Because he has not shut up for about 2 hours. It's good to be here. Fred and Dee, family members. I'm sure that over your years and all the accomplishments that you've received, that you've probably had grander events than what this has been. But I can promise you from my heart that there's not one that's been more sincere. Because when those of us who are fortunate enough to know Fred as students and members of his team, hold him in a high regard. Now, some of these that only knew Fred as our coach for those 2 or 3 years of high school really didn't have much of a basis to establish their feelings for him. But in my situation, being as it was, I had the opportunity and the privilege of playing 4 years of varsity basketball, my freshman year with Coach Bartholomew. And now, by the way, I'm very confused, as most people are, I'm sure, in this congregation, of what would be the most respectful way of addressing Coach Bartholomew. Coach, Mr. Bartholomew, or Fred. So I'm going to slip up a number of different ways. But as I was saying, I played 4 years of varsity basketball. Coach Bartholomew was my freshman coach. Coach Horace Lawrence was my sophomore coach. I had a fellow that they said was a coach, our freshman, my first year at East Carter. Anybody that remembers the name of Mel Boyette, and I try to forget it, but I can't. There wasn't much of a basketball coach there. And then my senior year, we had Eddie Clark, who was everybody's best friend, but nowhere close to being a basketball coach. And how I based that was how I had Coach Bartholomew my freshman year. And that's who I used as a guide to establish what a coach was. Horace, I love you to death. None of them ever met the goal of Coach Bartholomew. I truly mean that. And I know that for a fact. I went through 4 of them. Now, some would say it took 4 of them to put up with me for 4 consecutive years. But that's
Amen, I bet.
I was asked to cover that period of time, 64, 65. And as well as the rest of you, there was a lot of stuff about Smyrna's history that I was not aware of. I was not aware of that great heritage of the ladies' basketball. And I applaud you for that. That's quite an accomplishment. I don't know how many of you knew, but Smyrna had a football team. How many knew that? Matter of fact, I think there were boys on the team that weren't real sure that we had a team. Marty, who else? Thom Star, Marty. Yeah, sure, yeah. Use your little PowerPoint for something worthwhile. In 64-65 season, Fred was the principal at school, and I guess the athletic director. And in preparation for our going and consolidating at East, they thought a good idea that we would allow Smyrna to have a football team so that we would find out if there was any interest or any abilities whatsoever that we could bring to the East Carter football program. And with that, Coach Bartholomew went to work, and I guess he must have worked with Camp Lejeune. And the uniforms that we got, we could have filled this museum with memories. I don't know of anybody that had a matching helmet. I don't know of anybody that had a matching jersey. I don't know of anybody who had matching pants. We had to actually tape the pads in place with whatever tape we had, which was mostly athletic tape. It wasn't for decorations. It was to keep your knee pads from being at your butt pads, but nevertheless, that's the way it happened. The coach at that time was one Francis Curley. Coach Curley wasn't much of a coach, even though everybody loved him, but he had one good-looking wife, and any excuse that we had to spend as much time as we could with Francis, we were willing to do to get a chance to see her, and that was enjoyable. But let me tell you how my relationship started with.
I don't believe I said that.
Let me tell you how my relationship started with Francis. The only other Francis that I knew that was a boy, and that was a talking mule, and that was about as close as I could get to Francis Curley. I was over behind Granddaddy's house there at Hancock Landing, and a dead daughter drove up. Some of you might know what it does, others might not. And he got up, and he was coming down the path there, and I was helping Granddaddy help mend his trough. And here's the way the story went. He said, I was told by Mr. Bartholomew and a couple other people that we're getting ready to have a football program at Smyrna, and that you were fascinated by professional football, even though you have never seen a professional football game or even a college game, and that your hero was Johnny Unitas. And I said, yes, sir, that's true. Now, I don't know if he understood me to say, yes, sir, that's true or not, but I think that's what I said. He told me, he said, I was told, boy, that you're so fascinated by football that you could take a conch shell and throw it 50 yards, perfect spot. And I said, well, I could do that. Do you want me to see it? He said, no, that's fine. Unbeknownst to me at that time, Coach Curley had taken a football that had been donated for the football program and was going to bring it to the island so that I could practice throwing football. Didn't know it. So he walked up, he had a football behind him. He said, you can throw a conch shell 50 yards in the spiral. I said, yes, sir, I can do it. He said, well, son, do you think you can pass this? I said, Coach, I'm not real sure I can swallow it. That's the way that my football career began.
Now you know why they don't want to let him get up there.
Some people, parts of the world, probably wouldn't have picked up on that as quick as you all did. I thought it worked. We went on to play football. We had a 5-game season. Now we could play everybody that wanted to play, no matter what their age was. We had a couple boys from Cedar Island who were drawing Social Security. We found out that we had a football team. They wanted to know if they could play. But we played freshmen, we played sophomores, we played juniors, and we played seniors, didn't we, Martin? We had a 3-2 season, which is not bad for the first year that you had a football program. Not as good as the girls' basketball, but it wasn't bad. But more importantly, who did we beat? We beat Beaufort. Now, other than the girls, that's a rare commodity in this part of the woods. We enjoyed Beaufort. We enjoyed beating Beaufort. Matter of fact, in that particular game, I ran a 97-yard touchdown. And I was so exhausted, or let's put it this way, overwhelmed by the fact that I had run that touchdown, that I was hyperventilating at the time I got to the goalpost. Curtis Lancaster later said, I wouldn't have a boy on my team no better shape than that. But once I got to know Coach Lancaster, he was one of Susan's employers at one time. I said, no, you didn't have anybody on your team that could have run 97-yard touchdown, winning or any other way. So we went ahead and we beat them that year. By the way, 2 interesting things. There were supposed to be 2 guest speakers for here tonight, and neither one of them were able to show up. One was an old friend and a fraternity brother of Coach Bartholomew, Jimmy Starr, from Princeton, well, not Princeton, Pine Level, suburb of Princeton. Jimmy had been a fraternity brother of Coach Bartholomew, and he had planned to come and say a few words, but I think once his wife got with him and they decided about the only thing that he could have said probably would have been beat. The only thing that I can repeat, and I'm going to repeat it the best that I can to the way he said it. He said when he met Dee Ballou, that he either was lucky or that he hoped he was going to get lucky. Whatever one that meant. I'll let you figure that one out on your own. But he said he was a lucky man when he got that good-looking girl from Morehead City to pay some attention to that individual. But Jimmy thought a lot of Coach Bartholomew. That was Phi Kappa Alpha? Is that what it was? Okay. Phi Kappa Alpha. The other one that we hoped that we would have here tonight, and I'm sure that he thought better of it, was one Ray Hassel. Anybody remember that name? Well, what we were going to get Ray to do, if he'd been brave enough to show up, was going to give us a little feedback from the competitor side of what it was like to play against Smyrna. But he did give me a brief. He said that in his heyday, that there were 3 games played between the two, and a differential of 6 points. They went on to play and to win numerous state championships. The closest competitor during the state playoffs were 22 points. So he said that within itself would give you some insight to the type of competition that was alive and well between Beaufort, our staunchest rival, and Smyrna Blue Devils. There's 3 things that I've always taken a lot of pride in my life. One is my affiliation with my religion. The other is my family. Third of that was the honor that I felt in being a Smyrna Blue Devil. Do you remember the tradition that in the 3rd quarter of the girls' game, we would meet at the breezeway, and we would line up. I know you don't believe it, but Joe Boy always wanted to be first.
Oh, short of that.
And Linwood would always want to wrestle with David Bailey about who was going to be last. I didn't care. As long as I was in that group, I was happy. We all had our navy blue matching blazers. We all had similar slacks. We wore shirts and ties. We had our team bag, and with like 3 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter of the girls' game, the officials would call timeout, and we would walk in. Now let me tell you, unless you had the opportunity of doing that, you can't imagine what kind of pride ran through a young boy as it did for me. And I'm sure that each and every one of us that remember that felt the same way. What meant so much about that later was, as I was affiliated with East Carter's team, not only as a member, but in going to games afterwards, I would walk in expecting the same sort of ceremonial event to take place, and all of a sudden the girls' game was over, or the JV game was over, and I said, well, when is the team going to walk in? And they said, the team's up there in those bleachers. I said, where? And they were up there with blue jeans on and a track uniform. You didn't know no more who they were to man the moon until they came out with their uniform on. How can you have any respect of who and what you are if people don't acknowledge it? And you don't have the wherewithal to give them an opportunity to share the respect and love for your teams. Fred also, in another venture, was my driver's ed teacher. Eileen, you're not the only one that kept his attention, I can promise you that. We had a 64 pale yellow Ford Galaxy, 2-door coupe, standard transmission. Well, anytime you put a redneck armor in a straight shift car and a 2-door hardtop, man, you're going to see some bread. One of my first opportunities to drive was down in Marshallburg. You notice he didn't take me to Morehead. He took me to Marshallburg, one intersection at a time. And he was letting me drive, and we were coming down, I think it's old Goose Creek Road. Is that the road that runs back there towards Joey Owens' place? Goose Pond. I knew it had something to do with Goose. Well, we were coming from Owens' place towards the fire department, and there's a sharp curve. Remember that curve? Well, I thought the cool thing to do was to put that hand on the wheel and put the other one outside the window and hold on to the rain gutters. That's what everybody I've ever seen drive a car. You got to do that when you go around the curve. Well, when I did that, I wish he could have seen Fred. Buddy, he turned a number of different colors, and most of them were scarlet. He told me, no uncertain turn, boy, you put your hands on that wheel, and don't let me see you take it off anymore until you get out from under the steering wheel. But I got his attention that particular day. also used a colloquialism that most people on the island knew what it was. I used the term, he wanted to know how I broke my neck one time. I don't know how many of you knew that. Marty knows it, because he fished me out of the sign. I said, I broke my neck. He said, well, how'd you do that? I said, I did from the bridge. He said, you did what from the bridge? I said, I did. What's wrong with the word did? It certainly makes sense to me, and it's what I did.
Miss Salter, you didn't teach him, did you?
Fred, do you remember me telling you this? And of course, Fred could look at you sometimes, and he didn't have to say a whole lot. You pretty well knew what he was thinking. Did is a word he had never heard before. In reference to our dear Saint Anne Salter, I love her dearly. I saw her a couple of weeks ago at coming out of the drugstore. She must be getting a prescription for somebody else, because she certainly didn't. She told me she had been in 14 proms one time she was in school. Is that right? Is that what you told me? Few more than that. Well, she would only admit to 14. One of the things I can't imagine when she was telling that she went to Meredith and it was only a girls' school. Well, the last time I was in Raleigh, and I lived there for 5 years, down Hillsborough Street, about 3 blocks in North Carolina State. There was quite a few young men there. Chief, you went and spent a little bit of time there, didn't you? So I'm sure she had more than one occasion to dance. Also, I also told her the greatest credit I could give her was it a proven fact that she was a good enough teacher that she could teach people when they were asleep. And I think that you know where I'm going with that one. I spent my time, and I wasn't listening to Edgar Allan Poe. Let me go over my notes just a second.
We're going to have a hooker.
Anyway, that's all I had to say at this point in time. Anything else that we would say, maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do it someday later on.
You can put that one up there at the hook. Get it. Okay, let me see where I is. I'm going to cover this pretty quick, then we're going to get to a couple other speakers here. But in 1962, we were in the scrape. Everybody knows what down east scrape is. But we were there. It says, Larry Cohn reviews Smyrna. It says, at this stage of the game, there are 2 teams undefeated. 2 teams doing better than expected. Then there's Smyrna. They were hit by graduation. Curtis Nelson, Braxton Piner, Janice Jones, James Mears, Vaughn Dale graduated. Smyrna is in the early stages of rebuilding the team. Suffers not so much from the lack of talent as they do from the lack of experience. Too late. Fred had already used that graduate from East Carolina degree, that marketing degree that he had, that course he took, to explain to the school board that he was good for the job. He guaranteed progress, no matter how long it took. And the next thing that Fred did was develop a goal and a plan, prepare. He prepared the checklist, and if I missed anything, please let me know, guys. In other words, first of all, you have the checklist. Road work, sprints, more sprints, duck walk, runs and up and down the bleachers, pair up and run up and down the bleachers, pair up and run duck walks again, pair up and more sprint, dive on the ball if you get bored. I mean, on and on and on. A lot of running. Do you remember that? John, do you remember?
I remember running.
Running. That's all I remember is running. He also said, work harder than anyone else and you can achieve almost anything. And I believe that. But the first thing I did after I met Fred is I developed a life philosophy. And I told some people about this. And I do it still today. I eat a live toad the first thing in the morning, and back here then it was right before practice. Nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day. So when he was doing all that running and stuff, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about eating that frog that morning. This was the team. This is a good-looking team. We had on it Cranston Jones, Manley Lawrence, Johnny Bland, Norris Nelson, Doug Damon, Linwood Parker, Byron Lee Stein, Grady Davis, Barry Willis, Danny Gillikin, Joe Willis, A.C. Davis. I'm really sorry to say, Byron Lee's not with us today. Not because he's dead. He just didn't want to be here.
Indiana.
He's in Indiana. But he was actually here in August for a month and he couldn't make it. Byron Lee made the fatal mistake. Told Danny Gillikin. Danny, you want to tell that story?
Yeah, I can tell it. This is a baseball story that we, I can holler a letter that way. We played, I think, Newport, and we come back through Moorhead, and there was a Dairy Queen. Fred, this is a roast now. So don't get us.
Yeah, he don't want to do no laps, if you know what I mean.
So everybody got in line, get their ice cream, and then somebody in front of Barn Lee saw a picture up there on the window where you order of an ice cream called Idiot's Delight. Well, they turned around and pointed that out to Barn Lee, and Barn Lee said, "Yeah, that'd be a good one for the coach." The trouble is, the coach was standing right back there. So the next day, Barn Lee started running. And I think he learned a lesson from that. He run, and if he was here today, Fred probably have to do a couple laps around the place.
Byron Lee is now a preacher. He has done so much repentance. We're not sure we can save him. He has been running all his life. Matter of fact, he moved to Pennant for more penance. He moved to Pennsylvania. You can't get no worse place than that to live. So he couldn't make it, Fred. But he still remembers you and he wishes you well. This is a good-looking group. The first year, we started right off and lost 8 straight games. Right off until Fred found a secret. He put Cranston Jones in the second half of the game. We were losing 24-19. Cranston come off the bench, scored 21 points in 16 minutes. 15 of them from the foul line. Good. But we beat them. That started us winning right then. But we had lost 8 straight. At that point, he got a call from the principal future. And the coach, this is here, I got him dressed up as a monkey. But basically, he said, Mr. Future said, "Does this mean we stop losing?" And the coach still not sure, using that marketing degree, he said, "I still say they're inexperienced, and I'm not sure the team can continue to win." So at that point, we did continue to win. And that year, we were 6-5 in the conference, and we were 8-15 overall. Grady Davis is here today. Grady was all county in all tournament that year, Craven County All Tournament. Grady Davis was a 12th scorer out of 14 top scorers in the league with 9.6. Norris Nelson was 14th with 7.6. We had in the baseball team, our top batters that year in the team was A.C. Davis, Manley Lawrence, Grady Davis, David Lawrence were our big hitters. Our top pitchers were Sterling Hancock, Barry Willis, were 2 of our top pitchers. We won 6 out of 7 games that I have documentation for. We lost one of those 7 games that was documented to Beaufort, who had their win streak in Beach Turner in the year before in '60, and also won all their games